It's tough. I can't really explain it. It's hard to unless you go through it. But depression, when you Yeah, when I was growing up, the only thing that really mattered to me were sports.
Hayden never stopped moving. He was constant motion.
He was always the biggest and the fastest, and as a sibling it was a little frustrating because he really didn't have to put too much effort into it as he was younger. He just kind of showed up and was great at everything.
From the time that I can remember as a kid, just knowing in the back of my mind it was I'm either going to be a professional baseball player or I'm going to play in the NFL for, X amount of years.
And I asked Hayden, I said, what do you want to do? Do you want to play baseball? You want to go to college? He goes, well, I really want to play baseball.
So he went to play with the Pittsburgh Pirates down in Bradenton, Florida with their minor league camp, and he did well. I remember going and watching and saying, oh my gosh, he's going to get called up, because he was just lights out throwing strikes and doing really well.
He would start calling during the week and say, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And I said, oh, no, nothing. Can you come down? I'm like, what's he want me to come down there for? And he would every week call me, come down, come down, come down. He wanted me around all the time.
We would have phone conversations and he would tell me that he was struggling, and he would tell me that he was starting to not be able to feel his hands when he would pitch, or he didn't know where the ball was going. I just didn't understand that because, again, my entire life of watching him play, he was just great.
I kind of felt this weird feeling in my hand where the ball just wasn't sitting right. My hands were getting really sweaty, and I felt like I didn't have control like I normally did. And then sure enough, I let like a 94-mile-an-hour fastball go, and it hit this kid in the head, and it knocked him unconscious, and they had to come and scoop him up off the field. And for me, it was just sheer embarrassment.
I feel like I finally knew that something was really dark and something was really going on when we would FaceTime him, and he was in a dark room in the middle of the day by himself.
And as far as this camera is away from me, I couldn't even play catch with a kid. And I'm supposed to be a professional baseball player, and it was horrible. It really affected me on the field, obviously, and then off the field, it just created a downward spiral in my life.
He would get to the point with drinking that he would black out because he just didn't want to have those feelings anymore. And it was very tough on us because he didn't come to us. He actually went to a pitching coach and just said, I'm not enjoying this anymore.
And he said, look, I've never seen a kid try to fix something so hard in my life. He says, and I've been doing this all my life. He says, we've done everything, and he wants to move on.
And the pitching coach said, well, what do you miss? And he just said, I miss the football part. So he said, well, go play football. And so I always told Hayden, it's gonna work out, it's gonna be okay. And I remember him telling me, Mom, it's not working out, I'm done. I'm gonna go play football. And I told him I thought he was crazy.
To sit there and walk into another sport that he had played one season of in high school, I thought he was insane.
Really, that moment where I decided to hang it up and leave baseball behind me was huge for me. I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulder because I got to just leave that crap behind me.
Jerry, how you doing? Steve Spurrier Jr. calling you about 1:30. Hayden has been officially admitted to the University of South Carolina, stamped and approved.
I honestly thought that I was going to leave everything behind me. I get to South Carolina, and I'm still drinking, I'm still turning to drugs, trying just to numb that pain, I guess, of having my childhood dream ripped away from me. What I went through for those 3 years was horrible.
And he was drinking like he was at a bar. Like he was heavily drinking in a family setting, just on a Saturday night with the rest of us, to the point where he was getting really intoxicated and really blacking out and kind of mean, and he's never been like that.
I can't really explain it. It's hard to unless you go through it. But depression, when you feel like nobody's there, despite my family being so close, and they're willing to do whatever. But when you're in that headspace and you're in that dark spot, you feel alone. You feel like nobody's there, nobody cares. So I guess for me in those years, that's why I turned to drinking and pills and cocaine, like anything that I could get my hands on to numb that feeling of embarrassment, where I wouldn't have to explain myself to my family as to why my life was like unraveling. And one night it just caught up to me.
911, what is your emergency?
I'll never forget, my husband and I were at our lake house. I remember him coming in to the bedroom and saying, "We have to go to Columbia." And I'm like, "Why are we driving to Columbia?" And he goes, "Hayden tried to take his life."
Kylie, this is Mom. When you get this message, it's pretty important. Please call me as soon as you can. Please call.
At that point, I wanted out. I'd fought for so long, and I wanted it to be over. And for some reason, I got a second chance at this thing.
He was embarrassed, humiliated. He was in this room, the room was like almost like a jail cell.
We had 5 minutes that we were given to speak to him. And he held his head down and he wouldn't talk to us. And I said, "Hayden, we have 5 minutes with you. You have to share with us what happened."
It was the best and the worst thing that's ever happened in my life, because when I made that decision, when I was sitting in that hospital room, kind of reflecting on everything that I had done, I made a promise to myself. It's like, I'm not going to do this again. You know, for whatever reason, God looked down on me and gave me a second shot at this thing. And I made a promise. I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. Coach Muschamp, he tried to call the hospital every single day, even though they told him every single day. It was like, "Hey, you can't talk to him." And he demanded. He's like, "I need to talk to him." And for 4 days called and just got rejected. Just having that support system in moments like that is crucial. You don't know which way is up. You know, you're looking for help any way you can get it. And for those people to be there for me really helped save my life.
And he started just on his own, just cleaning up. He hasn't had a drink since that night.
And I dove straight into football. And I was working out 2-3 times a day. You know, guys on the team were like, "Man, he's a kiss ass and he's trying to show the coaches." But I didn't care. I blocked everything out and I dove in 100%. And I just became a freak. Anything that I could do football-wise, I was doing it because I was going to make it work.